Okay, let's start the webinar now. So, hello everyone, nice to meet you online. And I am Vian Fang from EnterCo, the cosmetic regulatory compliance consultant in China. And we regularly deal with cosmetic products registration and record filing in China. So, as today, it's an internal webinar for our clients and friends. So I want to introduce ourselves too much. So let's just go directly to the topic. And you can leave the messages and questions on the chatting box here. So you will see there is icon with the chatting, and you can leave the messages in the chatting box. We will check at the end of the webinar. Okay, and so just 1 minute, more friends will be added into the webinar. So, and let me see. Let me see, just 1 second. So in the next 40 minutes of this webinar, I'm going to show you a full picture of new Chinese cosmetic regulations, which you may heard in the past few months. I will start from a quick overview of current regulation status and then go through the details of new duties of different subjects and the requirements of product compliance. So if you have not yet sold cosmetics in China or are not clear about the current Chinese cosmetic regulations, the content of today may seem a little bit difficult to understand, but we can continue to discuss after the meeting. For the background, the timeline shows the major changes in cosmetic regulations in China. The first fundamental law of cosmetic was issued by Ministry of Health in 1989 and is still effective now. The registration requirements of cosmetics have been implemented since then. In 2008, the State Council reformed. The responsibilities of management for cosmetics changed from Ministry of Health to the China Food and Drug Administration. Since then, the cosmetic regulatory system has been gradually improved from 2010 and 2014, and many current requirements were issued during that period, such as the Chinese inky name, the review standard of registration documents. And considering the faster development of industry, the plan of renewal of fundamental law was firstly mentioned in 2013 and finally takes 6 years. The new fundamental law, cosmetic supervision and administration regulations, was issued in June this year and will come into effect on January 1st, 2021. And the current regulatory body has changed from CFDA to NMPA, the National Medical Products Administration. In the previous slide, we talked about the background and current situation of laws and regulations from a very big legislative level. So from the practical level, here it is. The definition of cosmetic in China is very similar as that in other countries, but we focus more on the surface of human body. So the oral products such as toothpaste, mouthwash, and intimate wash care are not cosmetics. Cosmetics currently is divided into domestic and import products based on the place of production. And according to function of products, they will be classified as non-special use and special use. Special use only refers to 9 functions listed here: the hair growth, hair dye, whitening, sunscreen, etc. Besides these functions, all the other products are non-special use. And the special use product need to complete the registration process, which takes at least a year, while the non-special use product need to complete a record filing procedure, which takes around 3 to 5 months. Regarding to the ingredients, cosmetic formula must comply with below 2 standards at least. The first is the Safety and Technical Standards 2015 version. It presents the list of prohibited ingredients and permitted preservatives, hair dyes, colorants, and UV filters. It is very similar as the annexes of EU regulations. And the second one is an inventory, a very special inventory we called IECIC, the inventory of existing cosmetic ingredients in China. It lists 8,783 ingredients which were used in cosmetics in China before 2015. There is a concept that I need to clarify here. The ingredient that is not listed in IECIC, we call the new ingredient. They cannot be used in cosmetics in China, but it doesn't mean all the ingredients listing in IECIC can be used in China. And if there is a new ingredient in the product, you cannot register or record the product unless the new ingredient is registered. So the new CSAR, the fundamental law, resets the definition, classification, responsible body, and the document requirements, etc., covering all aspects of production and operation in the industry. And so more detailed rules, guidelines, standards are required to support the new CSAR. And during the last 3 months, there are 11 supporting rules issued for public consultation. Although these rules, currently they are only just drafts, it can be expected that they will be established in a short time to support the implementation of the higher level law next year. So regarding the content we are going to introduce next, I may not be able to guarantee whether it will be implemented in this way, but I think it's necessary for everyone to understand what is written in the draft, and based on the past experience, the final rule, the final text will not differ much from the drafts. So firstly, let's talk about the new duties, the responsibilities. A very important change listed in the new CSAR is to reclarify the division and responsibilities of each identity in the industry. On the left side, you can see there are 6 identity subjects: the restraint and filing person, the record. For the special product, we call it registrant, and for the general product, it is the filing person. But in total, it's just the brand owner, the applicant for registration or record filing. I picked some key parts for the brand owner here. The items remarked in red are very new requirements for brand owner in China. First, before products launch on the market, the brand owner needs conduct registration or filing under its name, and a local responsible agent will assist the overseas brand owner to submit the registration or filing. And secondly, the brand owner must also set up its own quality management system. And what's the system? It's also a very new requirement here. Let's see the table. If you are a brand owner who entrusts a third party for production, you are still required to set up quality management system remarked in red here in the table, which includes the management for files, samples, product release and sales, recall, and so on. And you also need to have a monitoring system on the contracted factory. You need to supervise the self-inspection of the entrusted factory to ensure the production follow the right standards effectively. And if you are a contracted factory, you need set up and comply with the systems remarked in blue, such as the management of inspection, sampling, raw material, equipment, and production. And if, of course, if you are the brand owner who produce products by yourself, then obviously you need set up and follow all the standards listed in this page. And thirdly, you also must have a 5-year experienced responsible person for product quality and safety. The draft of the cosmetic production quality management standard lists the definition and duties, instruction of responsible person. The main in charge is the legal representative of the company, and you must have responsible person for quality and safety, for quality department, and for production department. There is basic requirements on each the subjects, the degree, the knowledge, and also the experience. So here in the table, you can see, for example, the responsible person for quality and safety must major in cosmetics, chemistry, chemical engineering, biology, medicine, pharmacy, public health, or food-related majors. And he or she must have more than 5-year experience of cosmetics production or quality management. You will have the slides after this webinar, so you can check the details of other responsible person to see the detailed requirements. And about the duties, I'm not going into the details also today. You can check the slides after the webinar. So generally, the main in charge should ensure the resource, the general company system and plan can support the implement of quality management, and the responsible person for quality and safety should undertake the main duties of quality and safety and the product release. He or she should set up the detailed quality system, the rules, and conduct the related decision making. The responsible person for quality department is the one who assists and implement the actual quality management system. And the responsible person for production department focus on the production activities, and he or she cannot in charge of the responsible person for quality and safety and for quality department at the same time. And the fourth, brand owner need to announce efficacy study data for public review, no matter it's moisturizing, nourishment, or whitening sunscreen. You need provide evidence, and you need provide also the fifth one. You need provide a safety assessment, and I think for the safety assessment, you will be more familiar with me, as the safety report is already required in Europe. And after the product goes on the market, more responsibilities that need to be paid attention to, such as the side effect monitoring and reporting, the risk control and recall. So, I will now go to the details here, and then we move on to the responsible agents. For overseas brand, you need to have a local responsible agent in China to assist you to fulfill the requirements. The new CSAR clarify a previous confusing question. The brand and the responsible agent who owns the product registration certificate. And now there will be no doubt that all the registration and record filing is under the brand owner. And the responsible agent need assist the brand in carrying out adverse reaction monitoring, the product recalls, and the responsible agent should cooperate with the supervision and inspection by the authority. About the operators, someone who operates or sell the products in China. I summarized some key points here. First, you must have two records, the purchase inspection record and the sales record, which should at least include information in the table here, such as the product name, the registration number, the expiration date, the contact of supplier, and so on. And two coordinations. It is similar as the responsible person. All the channels should coordinate with the brand or the authority, adverse reaction monitoring and product recall. And two prohibitions. The new CSAR emphasized that medical effect claims and false claims are prohibited. For example, I just picked two examples here that like anti-inflammatory or cell generation is not available because they will be regarded as medical terms. And as for the importer, who may not sell the products but still have duties to conduct inspection of product compliance and keep records. About the manufacturers, labs, authorities, each party is clearly defined in the new CSAR. I shared part of management system of manufacturers before. So for more information, we can also discuss the details after the webinar. And let's move on the key changes on the detailed requirements. So first is the product classification. As mentioned before, currently products are classified as special and non-special. And special products include 9 kinds of function. But next year, this category will be reduced to 6. Whitening, sunscreen, hair dye, hair perm, anti-hair loss, and new function. The hair growth, body fitness, beauty breast deodorant, hair removal may be classified as drug or general products in future according to its mechanism of action. For example, the body fitness, the slimming products will be considered to have a stronger effect with human body, so the authority will classify it as drug. Regarding what a new functional product is, the authority will also issue a classification standard, the Cosmetic Classification Rules and Catalog, which involves the classification of the functions, site of action, product form, target users of the existing products. In future, each product will have a 5-number classification code. And we can see the table on the right firstly. You can see there are in total 28 functions is allowed to be claimed and 13 sites of action like body, face, hair, and 14 form of products. The target users will be divided into general, baby, and children. For example, the code I listed here, 33222. Then this 5-number code will refer to a baby emollient body lotion. And 32C12, it represents that the product use a new form. So in this case, it will also be regarded as a new function product, which shall follow the registration procedure. As for toothpaste, it's still not a cosmetic, but the NMPA will refer to the recordation of general cosmetic to set up a new record filing system for toothpaste. And as for the soap, general use soap will not follow recordation system of the general cosmetic. Then about the ingredient management, the same as current classification, the ingredients will be classified as existing and new ingredients. The inventory IECIC I introduced before that includes 8,783 ingredients, which are used in cosmetics in China before. The ingredients which are not listed in IECIC are regarded as new ingredients, which cannot be used in cosmetics. And if you want to use new ingredients into cosmetics, you must register the ingredients firstly. However, as you may heard, during the last 5 years, there is no new ingredient approved in China. There are many reasons leading to the results, such as the stricter requirements on the toxicological data. The industry feels that the innovation has been affected because there are only less than 9,000 existing raw materials that can be used into cosmetics in China. So in the new rule, in order to encourage the industry, the new ingredients will be divided into high risk and other ingredients. The high risk ingredients includes UV filters, whitening, preservatives, colorants, and higher dye. The high risk new ingredients will still follow the registration process as current one. However, the other new ingredients can go through a record filing procedure, which is expected to be faster than the current process. But in the meantime, the authority still keeps carefully consideration of the safety. So all the registered or filed ingredients will have a 3-year monitoring period. During this period, only the applicant self or authorize its client can use this ingredient. If there is no safety issue happen in the 3 year, this ingredient will be finally added into IECIC. Then everyone can use it. And the document list is the same for both registration and recordation. The most information is the same as current one. Well, for the recordation, it is expected that it will not take a long time for the authority to review the documents. And the third part of the main change is about opening an account. Currently, if you registered a product before or is working on it, you must already have an online account. And it's not very complicated to open an account. You just need to submit the application form and qualified authorization letter, which indicates the relationship between you and your local responsible agent. Well, in future, more documents, qualifications of the company are required. And we think at least there are 5 kinds of documents, including the management system of quality, includes the side effects monitoring product recall, which we mentioned before, and also the qualification of the factory, such as the good manufacturing practice, need to be submitted at the very beginning. And if there is a subcontract, the contracted factory also needs to open its account. And about the documents, in this slide on the left side, show the documents that need to be submitted currently. And on the right side is the document involved in the new draft. There are not many changes on the framework of document lists. Just several files are merged into one. For example, the quality control specification, the manufacturing process, the technical standard, merge into the product implementation standard. However, there are still many changes in the detailed requirement of document. I have selected some potential key changes in the following slides. First is about the formula. The main requirement of the formula keeps the same. For example, you need to submit the complete information of compound ingredients, the correct inking name, the detailed ratios. Well, in future, more information may be required. A specification of each ingredient must be signed by the supplier and be submitted to the authority. And if the ingredient supplier changes in future, you may also need to update the supplier information and specification of ingredient to the authority, as it could raise more workload on the document management and communication. So many companies, as far as we know, submitted opinion about this rule, and let's see if it will finally come into effect. And another thing is that you cannot use a general vocabulary to describe the purpose or function of each ingredient. For example, the surfactant, you need clearly indicate it presents cleansing or emulsify or solubilizing in the formula in the product. And product implementation standard, it includes product name, formula, the process, the microbiology and the physical indicators, and the inspection methods, including everything about the products in it. Most information is also required currently, such as the manufacturing process, the microbiological indicators, but there will also be more information required in future. For example, you need to submit the safety assessment of packaged material and indicate the management measures for daily inspection. Another change is that about the shelf life. Period after opening is allowed to stand for the shelf life, and because currently we only accept indicate the shelf life by how many months or years. But as far as I know, the period after opening is allowed in Europe. So in next year, it is also available in China. About the labels, first, the ingredient lists. For the ingredient lists, for the ingredients over 0.1%, it must be listed in descending order. This rule is different from our current one, and also I think different from Europe. Now the dividing line for descending order is 1%, but it may be changed to 0.1% in future. And for the ingredients less than 0.1%, they need to be listed separately and titled as trace elements. This rule has also caused a lot of controversy in the industry, So we don't know whether it will be implemented in the end. And about shelf life, yeah, we just mentioned that period after opening is available. But if you want to use the period after opening to indicate the shelf life, you must also mark the manufacturing date on the package. And both primary and secondary package need to have the shelf life information. And also the product name. It is also caused great controversy in the industry because the primary package must also have the full product name, which may include the Chinese name. And the claims for imported products, the claims relative to the efficacy and safety must be the same in Chinese and in original language. For example, if you claim the moisturize or repair on the original product package, you must have the same claims on the Chinese label. And the forbidden words claims will follow a dynamic management method. So we need to keep ourselves posted on the latest requirements. And the new label law also emphasizes the forbidding any claim which try to imply the inconsistent function of products, especially the medical terms. We also mentioned it before in the new CSAR, and we need to pay attention to it. And if the product efficacy is verified in Chinese qualified lab, you can mark efficacy verified on Chinese label. About the format, for a smaller size, such as the product under 15 grams, an electronic label, the QR code, is allowed to be used. But a multiple layered label, the picture I show here, may not be allowed anymore in future. About the efficacy study, it is a very new requirement in China. All the products in future must announce the basis of efficacy study for public supervision. The authority will issue a guideline to indicate which kind of efficacy should have which kind of evidence. Generally, for the special function, such as the whitening, the sunscreen we mentioned before, only human trial study is effective. Well, for the general products, there are 4 kinds of data available: the human trial, the lab testing, the consumer survey, and literature reference. On the right table, you can see part of information listed in the guideline. For example, you can submit the lab testing to prove the anti-wrinkle and literature for proving the hair care. And there is also exemption that some products are not necessary to provide efficacy data, such as the products can be directly recognized by the sense, for example, the lipstick, the makeup, the fragrance. And next part is about the testing. The testing is mandatory in China, as you may know before. Normally, we test microbiology, the heavy metal, and toxicological studies, and some risk concern ingredients. And there could be a change on the toxicological study. That is, in future, it is possible to waive animal testing for imported products. But there are some preconditions. First, it must be a general product. And then the factory must have a relevant qualification certificate of the production quality management system. And this kind of qualification certificate must be issued by the country or region regulatory authority. So please note it that it must be issued by the authority, the government, not a good manufacturing practice issued by the industry association or the third-party institution. Then the last, the safety assessment could fully confirm the product safety. As long as the product meets these three conditions, you can waive the toxicological data, and which means you can waive the animal testing. There are also some circumstances that cannot apply for waiving of toxicological tests, such as the baby products or the product with monitored new ingredients, or other circumstances listed here. And about the safety assessment, there will also be a guideline for the safety assessment, but the general principle is very similar as that in Europe. So today I will not discuss the details of this page. I think once the guideline issued, we can check if your original safety report can be applied for the Chinese requirements. And okay, let's move on. A very important adjustment in the new CSAR is also to refine and clarify the penalties for illegal acts. Because in the original, the 1989 regulations, there were few explanations on illegal matters, and the penalties were relatively light. So the cost of violations of enterprises was very small, which was not conducive to the development of the regulatory industry. So in the new CSAR, the violations have been detailed and penalties have been strengthened. And before we go through the penalties, I update the new draft of sampling inspection system here. The sampling inspection is also a key method to check the compliance of the products sold on the market. The inspection will mainly focus on 5 categories: the products which are sold widely and used frequently, and the baby or the children product, and the products acquire high attention from the consumers, and the products with potential high risk based on the previous inspection and other circumstances. The inspection can be conducted online and on-site. If it is on-site, normally these 5 documents need to be provided, such as the product registration certificate and your purchase record. The main penalties are divided into these 4 categories: general violation, more serious, relatively serious violation, serious violation, and particularly serious violation, and involving different levels, fine, business behavior, and more importantly, now have penalties for the person in charge. So the legal representative and the responsible person for safety and quality, which we mentioned before, will be highly involved in the penalties to undertake the responsibilities. For these 4 levels of violations, I selected some typical cases for reference. From the lightest level, if the purchase system is not established or implemented in daily operation, it is a general violation of the law with a fine of 30,000 to 50,000 yuan, and the person in charge with a fine of 10,000 to 30,000 yuan in serious cases. And importing or selling general products that have not been filed is a relatively serious violation of the law. You can, after the webinar, you can check the detail of the slides to compare the different violation cases and its penalty. And if the product sold do not meet the national standard, such as the heavy metals exceeding the standards, it is a serious violation of the law. And importing or selling unregistered special products is the most serious illegal situation. The new CSAR also lists more illegal situations, such as the false registration, the label defects. I recommend that you must read carefully one by one. Okay, so here we are here at the end of the webinar. The content of the new CSAR and the supporting rule is very extensive and contains many details, which will be different from the current industry operation method. So this webinar is not enough to explain the new changes that we will face in the future. And I guess that the entire industry may take at least half or a year to adapt to the new policy. So currently many specific rules are still in the draft stage and have not been finalized. I suggest first is to clarify what cannot be done by self-inspection, because what cannot be done is clearly listed and reflected in the new CSAR, and the CSAR is finalized. And I have just mentioned that you need to check whether you have violated the law one by one to avoid any risk. And secondly, we need to clarify the responsibilities of each subject, the identities, to define the responsible person, and then try to set up the related internal quality management system and source the specialists. Fourth, we still need to follow up the release of supporting rules, because there are still more drafts will be issued in the next maybe several months, such as the measures for supervision and administration for toothpaste, and the regulations for overseas inspection and management of cosmetics. And there could be, as far as I know, there could be like at least 5 to 7 more drafts will be issued. And at last, the enforcement of new rules may affect the timing of registration or importation. So you may set up the timeline for new products marketing conservatively. So here is the information for today's webinar, and also our suggestion for the new policy. And if you are working on the registration currently, I will highly recommend that try your best, or try my best to submit the documents as far as possible, because to be honest, we don't know exactly what will happen in the next year. So let's try to do what we can do in this year. And okay, here is for today. And let me check if there is any questions. You can leave the question in the chatting box we mentioned at the very beginning.